Hi everyone, this is Dr. Kishore Kumar. Today I am going to discuss about the heterochromatin and the euchromatin. So this is one of the important area in molecular biology that we should understand. So the nucleus of every eukaryotic cell, there is a thread-like structure that can be present in the nucleus we call chromosomes. These chromosomes are nothing but where the DNA is highly condensed and with the help of certain proteins, and finally it will get a form of chromosome. So when you stain this chromosome and observe in the light microscope, you will get a different shading pattern or different coloring pattern. So based on that name as given by the name as given that particular areas to the heterochromatin and euchromatin. So today we are going to discuss about this particular topic. So in this particular session, I'm going to discuss a basic introduction, what is chromosome, what is chromatin, and the differences which we are going to discuss here. And the types of chromatin also I am going to discuss because that is to be important, we should understand. And in the third aspect of this lecture, I'll try to give a comparison between these two U and heterochromatins, and then finally I'll give the significances and their conversions. So this is also be important. If you take euchromatin and heterochromatin, this is not to be always static. There will be interchange. It can be possible that with the help of certain proteins that I'm also be going to discuss here. So friends, come to the basic introduction. So we should understand about chromatin and chromosome. These two words which are very important for understanding of the molecular biology. All right. So if you call chromatin, what is chromatin? The chromatin is nothing but the DNA which is packed by a special proteins called histones to form the chromatin. Right, clear? What do you mean by chromatin? Chromatin is nothing but where the DNA that can be packed with the proteins is called chromatin. Then what do you mean by chromosome? The chromosome is nothing but this chromatin is further condensed to form the chromosome. So friends, you should clearly understand there is a difference between chromatin and chromosome. The chromatin is the early level of organization of the DNA, and chromatin is the higher order organization of the DNA. So that is chromatin, and this is chromosome. So this means that lower order of DNA organization is called chromatin, and whereas chromosomes are higher order of DNA organization. That we should understand, right? So if you see the composition of chromatin, so the composition of chromatin is nothing but which is having a many different kinds of the molecules, and altogether we call it's a nucleoprotein. The chromatin is a nucleoprotein. As even I made a clear-cut video about this, what is nucleoprotein and what is the function of histones and their structures, everything in an earlier video. Here also I'll try to give that link in this video at the end of this video. And you try to understand this nucleoprotein should have a various kinds of the materials that together will compose the chromatin. Here the best example, you take the histones. Histones, these are the basic proteins that are compulsory. The basic protein mean which will have the positive charge. And if you take the DNA is the negative charge because of phosphate group. So this positive negative charge is to be attracted, and this histone proteins will be important for the binding of DNA, and there will be certain non-histone proteins also be present. We call SMCs, structural maintenance proteins, and obviously the DNA should be present as well as RNA should be present. So in a single term, we want to say about the chromatin is nothing but which is a nucleoprotein, where the DNA plus RNA plus proteins can be present. Clear? Done. So when you take this DNA, right, this DNA, when we want to stain this DNA with the help of different dyes like ethidium bromide, methylene blue, cybersafe, xylene cyanol, these are the different dyes which will be used for the staining of DNA. So once you stained with these dyes, what will happen? So these dyes, depending on their properties of the dyes, which will be go and bind to the DNA at different stages. So that you should we should understand. So this is like what you see. So certain dyes will go and bind in between the bases. We call intercalators, right? Even certain these dyes which will bind in the major groove of the DNA. Of course, there will be major and minor grooves that can be present in the DNA double helical structure that I will be going to explain in the coming videos, right? And even certain this will call the major groove binder, and even certain dyes, this red color indicates dyes, this can bind at the exterior, so we call external binders, and even certain binds in between the bases, multiple in between the multiple places, this we call bis intercalator. So these are the different kinds of binding properties of the dyes when you are to the DNA, right? Based on this the dye binding pattern, then the first time the identification of different regions of the chromosome is done by the scientist Emil Hertz in 1928, and he has given the name for the different regions of the chromosome. One is euchromatin and second one is heterochromatin. And if you see the euchromatin, the area of chromosome which are lightly stained with the DNA specific stains. So when he stained with the dyes of the DNA will have two different kinds of the staining properties. One is to be lightly stained. That lightly stained region is called euchromatin, and second region where the staining will be very dark. So the dark stained or intensely stained region, as given the name, is heterochromatin. So this euchromatin, which is loosely packed form of chromatin, you should understand, and heterochromatin were exactly the tightly packed form of chromatin. The simple sentence: euchromatin is nothing but loosely packed, and heterochromatin is nothing but tightly packed. Clear? Then, if we want to see the basic properties of this heterochromatin and the euchromatin, this we should understand in this particular slide. So, coming to the heterochromatin, you can see the very dark areas. Just a second, I'm taking a notation. So, see, these are the darkly stained areas. You can see these darkly stained areas we call heterochromatin. These heterochromatin are inaccessible to the proteins which is engaged in gene expression. So what is the basic typical property of heterochromatin? Because why it is to be is very dark, because where it can be tightly packed. So because of this tightly packing, that cannot be allowed any kind of the proteins or any kind of the enzymes to interact with the DNA. That is the first one we should understand. And second one, even the chromosomal crossing over is not also be possible because of this tightly packing nature. And obviously this region is transcriptionally as well as genetically inactive, because any gene it wants to be expressed, there are certain enzymes which has go and bind to the DNA and try to make their expression, right? That cannot be possible in this heterochromatin. That's what which is transcriptionally as well as genetically inactive. Whereas if you see the euchromatin, so this euchromatin should also have a particular characters. So that is, if you take the human genome, which is 90% of the entire DNA, which is comes to the euchromatin, right? Clear? And this can be actively participate in the transcription from DNA to RNA, and later on it is going to the translation, the RNA which is coming from the transcription, which is going to the translation. So this is actively participate in the transcription process. And the gene regulating mechanisms is the process of transforming euchromatin to heterochromatin and vice versa, because this is very important. So you just think that the heterochromatin and euchromatin, at least certain parts, which is not to be always static. So there is a dynamic process which is converting U to hetero and hetero to euchromatin. This is with a special kind of the proteins that we are going to discuss in the last slide of this particular session, right? Then if you see the heterochromatin, that is to be a basic introduction about the heterochromatin and euchromatin. And if you again go into the little deeper into the heterochromatin, definitely the heterochromatin should have the two different types, right? First one is facultative heterochromatin, and second one is constitutive heterochromatin. So if you see the facultative heterochromatin, so in the facultative heterochromatin, the name itself indicates the genes which get silenced through the process of histone methylation or RNA silencing, right? So the heterochromatin region, which is temporarily silenced with the process of this histone methylation or RNA interference, right? Because of these two procedures, if the particular area is to be masked, then we call that is facultative heterochromatin. So they contain inactive genes and is not permanent character of every nucleus of the cell. This we should understand. So this is inactive and which is not to be a permanent character. Whenever the particular gene wants to be expressed, then definitely the again remodulation of histone can be happen, and the gene will be again converting into euchromatin. And coming to the constitutive heterochromatin, these are the continuing nature of the cell's nucleus and contains no gene in the genome. This we should understand. Facultative heterochromatin is to be temporary heterochromatin. Whenever the situation demands, it can also convert to euchromatin. But if you see the constitutive heterochromatin, constitutive means which is continuous in a heterochromatin state, where definitely which is no gene is to be present on that particular region. And the structure is retainable during the interface of the cell, right? So every interface of the cell, the structure is to be, again, which is to be generated or regenerated or retained. And if you see the repetitive and structural functional genes that can be present in this particular region, in this particular constitutive heterochromatin, we call this constitutive heterochromatin example are telomere sequences and centromere sequences, right? These telomere sequences, centromere sequences will be constitutive heterochromatin because that is to be always continuation sequences which can be existing. So we call constitutive. And there are a few other genes that can be expressed whenever the cell wants, and the cell, when the cell does not need it, it can be temporarily masked. So that is facultative heterochromatin. So now I'm trying to give you a few, in a simple chart, the differences between heterochromatin and euchromatin. This we should understand, all right? So what do you mean by heterochromatin? That is nothing but tightly packed form of DNA in the chromosome. Then euchromatin, which is to be loosely packed form of DNA in the chromosome. When you see the DNA density, obviously when the heterochromatin is tightly packed, mean that is high DNA density. Euchromatin is less or low DNA density. The kind of the stain, as we so far discussing, which is stained dark, right? But this is lightly stained. Euchromatin is lightly stained. And where they are present, they are found in the periphery of the nucleus in the eukaryotic cell. This is very important. In the periphery of the nucleus of the eukaryotic cell, whereas euchromatin, this is to be inner body of the nucleus of prokaryotic as well as eukaryotic, because all expressing genes will comes to the eukaryotic portion, or when those expressing genes will come to the euchromatin portion. So euchromatin portion can present in prokaryotic as well as eukaryotic, but heterochromatin that can present in the eukaryotes. And the transcriptional activity, as we are discussing, this is this heterochromatin show little or no transcriptional activity, but whereas euchromatin that is actively participate in the process of transcription. And this is to be in basic differences. Not only this, there will be some of the advanced differences which is also be present between these two. You can see here the heterochromatin, the regions of heterochromatin are sticky ends, but whereas if you see euchromatin, these are non-sticky ends. And if you see the composition of DNA that can present in the heterochromatin is always AT rich sequence. This we should understand. This is always to be an AT rich sequence. But whereas if you take in the euchromatin, this is always the sequence is GC rich sequence. The GC rich sequence, you should understand GC, guanine and cytosine. The sequence which is present in euchromatin is to be rich, right? When you take the second importance point of this heterochromatin, the advanced differences are so genetically active. This is genetically inactive as we are discussing, but this is to be active, right? So it permits the gene expression. So actually, what is the importance of heterochromatin that we should understand? It can maintain the structural integrity. You can see the integrity, the structural integrity of the cell, as well as some extent it can maintain the expression, the regulation of gene expression. So that is the major function of this heterochromatin. Whereas if you see this euchromatin, which is it can be a genetic variation that can be possible in euchromatin and permits the genetic transcription. That's what which is genetically active. This we should understand. And coming to the last point, this is phenotype remains unchanged of an organism. If you this heterochromatin, which is to be unchanged in any organism, but whereas in euchromatin variation may seem. That is due to effect in the DNA during the genetic process, because there is a mutation, there is a change in the sequences that can lead to the change in this particular portion of euchromatin, but there is no change that can be present in a heterochromatin of an organism. So this is not related with the phenotype, and this can be related with the phenotype, because there is a change in the genotype. Definitely that can be existed in the phenotype, right? So these are to be some of the advanced differences between heterochromatin and euchromatin. And coming to the importance of this hetero and eu, if there is the conversion of hetero to eu, this can be possible, because this everyone has an idea that heterochromatin is always to be hetero, euchromatin is always to be in euchromatin nature, but this is not exactly true. Certain portion of heterochromatin that can be converted into euchromatin when it is not required, which is to be converted into prochromatin. So this condition is depending on the cell. So certain genes which are expressed at the certain stage of the organism, and certain genes which are expressed at the later stage. Some of the earlier stage, some of the later stage, and some genes they are continuously expressing. So this is like there is a certain portion of the heterochromatin. Whenever the cell demands, there is a genes that can present in this particular heterochromatin portion has to be expressed, so that it has to be converted into euchromatin. Then if the job is done by this particular portion, again it will be converted back to the heterochromatin. This is like an vice versa. So heterochromatin will be converted into euchromatin, and euchromatin will be converted into heterochromatin. So this particular conversion, the heterochromatin, it wants to be converted into euchromatin. There is a modification which has to be taking place. This we call histone modifying proteins. There are certain enzymes, so which can go and bind to the histone, and they are trying to change the histone nature. So these histone are protein which are binding to the DNA. So these histones are they are trying to distort from the DNA. So this DNA is expressed, the gene is expressed, and whenever the modification is stopped, then it will again bind to this DNA. This is called methylation, demethylation, acetylation, and phosphorylation. These are the different histone modifying process by which the heterochromatin is converted into euchromatin. And this is to be again make sure that there are certain chromatin remodeling factors which will be present, and that will ensure this process whether the gene wants to go for the euchromatin or not. So this is like a checkpoint. So these chromatin remodeling factors we call a transcriptional factor 3C, CTCF, BEF. These are we call checkpoints, or we also call this barrier insulator, because this can always check whether what kind of the gene of the heterochromatin which is going to the euchromatin, right? This is like the transition. It can be take the decision of this modeling factors will take the decision whether euchromatin has to enter into heterochromatin or not. This is how the conversion can be taking place. So students, you should think that the heterochromatin will not always to be in a heterochromatin nature in the eukaryotic DNA or eukaryotic cell. Clear? So far we discussed about the basic introduction about the chromatin and chromosome, and what are the comparative differences between heterochromatin and euchromatin, and finally we have seen the various kinds of significances that are associated with the transcriptional and translational activities, and finally we discussed about the transition of heterochromatin to euchromatin. So students, I think you should understand the basics about this hetero and euchromatin, and then see you in the next video. Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.